Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about the 5-minute photo shoot. So if it's your first time here, I'm Daniel Norton. I'm a photographer here in New York. This channel is all about kind of my experience and philosophy and how I operate. We do some tutorials here, but a lot of these kind of talks where I just kind of cover different subjects and stuff. So if that interests you, you might want to subscribe. In any case, we're going to talk about the 5-minute photo shoot. So this came up at this workshop I was doing with Seth actually, and the idea of like having to rush or get something done, or we were talking about like those things, and I think it's become kind of a little bit of an urban legend that these CEOs and these high-ranking people or whatever, they give you no time and you have to get in there in 5 minutes and shoot. Okay, yeah, I mean, like any urban legend or myth, there's some truth to it. Basically, what you're looking at here is that if you need to photograph somebody who doesn't have a lot of time, so let's say they're a business person, or they're a celebrity, or they're a musician, whatever, you don't have them very long. That part of it's kind of true, right? But the thing is that I think that a lot of, it's like sitting around the campfire telling the story, the grizzled pros, telling these stories. What we leave out usually is the idea that, yeah, you only have 5 minutes with the CEO, but you have a bunch of time usually to set up. And therein lies the key to it, right? So if I know that I have to photograph, let's say, a CEO of a bank or whatever, right? And I know that I'm going to have this time to shoot. Let's say I'm going to photograph him at 1 o'clock. So, okay, I'm going to show up at like 11, right? I'm going to scout locations. I'm going to find where I need to be. I'm going to set up, right? I'm going to be there. I'm going to test all my lights. I'm going to use a light meter. Ideally, I have an assistant. If not, I take somebody from the office to stand in, and I get everything in place. That way, if this person shows up and they legit only have 5 minutes with me, then that whole 5 minutes is me having this conversation with them and making great photos. It's not me setting things up. It's not me testing the lights. It's not me shooting multiple times and looking at the exposure and changing it because I didn't use a light meter. This is the thing, right? You don't generally only have 5 minutes to shoot, or I would say for the whole shoot, you have 5 minutes for the actual session, the time that they're in front of your lens, right? This can be true. Did a lot of stuff from magazines and stuff. It's true, it's like sometimes you just don't have time. You don't always have 2 hours to set up. Sometimes you have 20 minutes or whatever, but almost never are you put in a position where you literally have 5 minutes to set everything up and make the photo, and the person's there waiting for you. Because number one, if somebody's that busy, they're not going to sit there and watch you set up your equipment. They'll friggin' walk out if you're not ready. So, there you go. If that is the case, then, they aren't going to get a photo probably. They'll get some acceptable thing. Throw a flash on your camera and bounce it off the roof. What are you going to do? It's not your fault. And I think that part of this myth has come from the idea of, it's very old-fashioned in a sense, because back in the day, these CEOs and these bank people and these, less so celebrities, but they didn't need the photos as much as they do now. Usually it was like, okay, they're getting a photo made because there's an article being written, and that's really what they care about, right? The article in Newsweek about their company. Yeah, it's being illustrated by a photo of them, and I guess they're whatever, they got to be in the photo. Generally speaking, they're not all about the photo shoot, they're about just the publicity in general. Now, everybody needs photos, right? You've got all these social networks, you have all this stuff going on, there's so much press, there's so much thing on. Everybody needs good photos. So all these people, unless they're really, really, really in a rush that day, they're going to want a good photo, right? And they know that these photos are going to spread everywhere. It's not going to be one article that's, only the subscribers of this magazine are going to see that one photo one time. No way, this is going to be all over the internet. So most people are pretty much want to get a good photo of themselves. So if you seem professional, if they think they're going to get a great shot, if you're not wasting their time, that whole 5-minute thing, it just doesn't happen, right? This is why I do certain things, and a lot of professionals do, certain pieces of equipment that we use that I think are super key and important. And I know that there's probably a lot of people out there that don't use this, and I'm guessing a lot of those people probably aren't pros or were never really pros. Number one is a light meter. I get that it's an extra expense and you want to spend it on your lens, or you want to spend it on buying presets or whatever for Lightroom. A light meter is going to make your life so much easier if those are the types of jobs that you want to do. You are going to be able to get into these spaces, you're going to be able to take that very first frame, and it's going to be perfect. Like I mentioned, you probably should have somebody stand in, but if you can't do that, then that whole chimping at the back of your screen to set your exposure is not going to fly, right? And yeah, there's TTL and everything, but in the scheme of things, having a light meter, it's a super useful tool, and I always take it with me whenever I do shoots. I don't always use it. I mean, sometimes you guys see me do live presentations clearly, and I use the TTL or whatever, but having the light meter, key tool, right? The other thing is shooting tethered. And I hear so often, oh, I can't do it, it's so difficult. It's just one more piece of equipment you guys set up. Put your computer there, plug it in. You're gonna have the raw files there immediately on your computer, looking the way they need to look. It's going to be impressive to the client. They're gonna wanna stick around and see the pictures come up when they don't have to stare at the back of your little screen of your camera, right? And the third thing that I almost always use in these cases is a tripod. And I get that it's not freewheeling to use a tripod, but the reality is that if I'm on a tripod, I don't have to focus on holding the camera, picking the camera up, doing whatever. I can focus on my subject. And if I have the camera on the tripod, already more or less in position, with the lighting in place, already lit, everything, when that person comes in, I can have a conversation with them. When they get into the spot, I just look through the camera quickly or use the live view, which I've been using more and more lately to kind of frame stuff up so I'm not hiding behind the camera. Then I kick off the live view, or unless I'm in a mirrorless camera, clearly, and I'm able to just sit there and shoot, right? I don't have to think about holding the camera, moving the camera, figuring out I'm always going to be a good composition. It's super simple. If I need to get up or do something or move something, I'm not putting things up and down. It's just an easy thing. Use a tripod if you can. It's super useful. So yeah, I mean, I really wanted to cover this because I think there's a lot of these like urban legends or photo myths. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments what things you've heard, like horror stories or whatever, and maybe I'll dissect them a little bit and give you a little bit of insight as to where they come from. But yeah, I think that's less likely today. That being said, don't waste people's time. You know, I'll end with the story that is a true story. So it is one of these things of a photographer that I know, and this wasn't my shoot, but it's a photographer I know, and you know, he had to go in and photograph this. We'll call him a celebrity, and he got in there early, like I said, got everything set up, like I said, shot Polaroids because it was back before digital, and got everything ready with the assistants. And then when the person came in, he loaded up his Hasselblad to shoot, which was 12 shots in a roll back then, right? Loaded Hasselblad in, he shot 6 pictures. The guy got up and said, "You got it," and walked out. Half a roll of film was all he got to shoot, but because he had shot the Polaroids, because he had set up the lights ahead of time, because whatever, he had 6 pictures, and they were all well exposed, well, you know, composed, and you know, they only had 6 expressions, so whatever. That's the fault of the person that didn't want to sit there for the rest of it. But so that can happen, but be ready. That's the key. Don't be messing around. Know what you're going in, what you're walking into. Have an idea ahead of time, and you'll get shots. Even if they only actually give you a few minutes to shoot, you'll be ready. So thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Again, leave some comments. I would love to hear about your horror stories or any kind of myths you want me to debug or whatever. And I'll see you soon.